Claro, nature, this is the beginning of the sentence. I go
Yes,
back
this
to
is
the
the
beginning.
Yes,
Yes.
we finished the other one. No?
And Tere, in our books, what page is that?
379
379.
at the bottom.
Yes, I couldn't find the nature. Yes, I found it now.
Okay, nature, we may rest assured, has her own good and cogent reasons for whatever she does. And in all probability, such deaths are due to some law of anticipation by which organisms in which morbus germs have taken up their residence. Modern science has conclusively shown that only the plasmic substance can be said to be immortal. And I was saying that although they are talking about illnesses and how the different bodies respond, you remember that they were saying that a lot of children died when they were children, and they are talking about precisely infections, no? And that's why they talk about here morbus germs, no? And well, the difficulties that medical science had at that time, but the phrase between brackets corresponds to Stephen, who believes, yes, that this plasmic substance is in the air, that it transcends, no, this theory of, in a way, this strange theory that he follows, no, about this plasmic substance being changed into another being, right? So tend to disappear.
Plasmic exists? Plasmic.
No, he calls it plasmic substance as the what he means is let's say the origin, no, the origin of the human being, that he calls that plasmic substance. Well, so the germs, they are talking about the germs, the infections, tend to disappear at an increasingly earlier stage of development, an arrangement which, though productive of pain to some of our feelings, notably the maternal, is nevertheless, some of us think, in the long run beneficial to the race in general, in securing thereby the survival of the fittest. So see that this, this last part, very Darwinian, is saying that those who survive are the fittest, the best. And so that is good for the race, although
is the survival of the strongest.
Claro.
Yes.
Although this is a pain to our feelings, especially the mother's feelings, of course. No, although mothers suffer, he says it is good for the race, the survival of the fittest. Later on, we are going to see that they also use Malthus theory. You remember Malthus?
Yes.
Yes. Malena is going to say something.
Yes, Malthus is 18th century thinker.
Doctor.
Yes, I don't remember he was a doctor. He was a doctor.
Yes, but he had a theory, los Malthusianos, is a theory about the strongest of the race and the physical characters of the strongest people.
And he argued that if people grow less, the environment is better for them to live. So nature has some cyclical adjustment for making people live less.
Yes,
it's
like a control of the population, a kind of natural control.
And that's true. One of the problems that we have today is that people live 80, 90 or 100 years, and what happens?
Well,
it's terrible, but in one moment there are not more food for people in the air.
That is the
Natural
challenge, to
catastrophe.
produce more. Sorry,
Yes,
Malena.
yes, to produce different things, but well,
Malena, you were saying something.
No, yes, like war or a natural catastrophe
Yes,
are in one sense good for people to maintain this level of population in a low rate.
yes,
this is
exactly.
better. Yes,
Yes, if not, if there is much population, food is not enough, and diseases and all the problems grow up.
Yes.
yes,
So this idea, together with this Darwin's, let's say,
Theory.
point of view, a theory, no, the survival of the fittest, all these ideas together are included in this chapter, because in fact, Joyce was very well informed of all the things that were, you know, that we are said at the level of science, no? Yes.
that were the theories that are were very important at that time, no?
Yes, of course. Yes.
But well, it was maybe the origin of the Nazism too, no? In one way, no?
Yes.
Not completely, but one of these consequences was
not, yes, and the wars, well, in a way, yes. Remember that this is 1904 when he is writing, huh?
Yes.
So this is before the war, but well, you see how the ideas are already in a way appearing, no, at everybody's side, no.
Also, Freud's ideas at that moment.
Also.
Psychology and all the Freud theories. So
Yes.
it was quite a period, an interesting period.
No, at the level of
well, it was very interesting because it's the
new paradigms for the world.
Yes, and we need to. They need to think about all these problems because.
Yes, it is a really interesting period, and Joyce is very well acquainted with all these ideas. He knows them.
It was in the middle of the question, no? It was an active person.
Yes, of course, and he talked with all these people, no? So.
And does he make any reference to the tense atmosphere that Europe was living at that time before the war?
Not here, but he refers to Irish problems, to the political Irish problems. And we see in the previous chapters we saw, and now they are going to mention something again in connection with the movement of the nationalists in Ireland. Those who wanted independence. No, that is pervading all the novel, but not the
but regional, let's say.
Yes, no, not the situation in Europe in general. So
I have a little bit question about the word race. Race here is meaning raza or carrera or both.
Where are you?
Yes, when you finished for the development of the race, you said something related to that.
No, I use the word.
The species.
Yes,
raza,
race
¿no?
es claro, race como raza.
Okay.
Raza. So Mr. S. Daedalus, Div Skept, you remember that they are given these, let's say, titles, remark, or should it be called an interruption, that an omnivorous being which can masticate, deglute, digest, and apparently pass through the ordinary channel with a pluto-perfect imperturbability, such multifarious aliments as cancrenous females emaciated by parturition, corpulent professional gentlemen, not to speak of jaundiced politicians and chlorotic nuns, might possibly find gastric relief. Wait a second, in an innocent collation of staggering Bob, reveals as not else could, and in a very unsavory light, the tendency above alluded to. So what Stephen adds is that all these, let's say, illnesses for the women who are having babies, for the gentlemen, for the politicians, for the nuns, etc., is a question of what they eat and what they drink. An innocent collation of staggering bob. You remember the use of the word bob for drink, no?
Yes.
And so, in a way, he goes back to this idea that he has presented before of the question of too much drinking in Ireland, no? For the enlightenment of those who are not so intimately acquainted with the minutiae of the municipal abattoir, as this morbid-minded aesthete and embryo philosopher, who for all his overweening bumptiousness in things scientific, can scarcely distinguish an acid from an alkali, prides himself on being, it should perhaps be stated that staggering bob, in the vile parlance of our lower class licensed victuallers, signifies the cookable and eatable flesh of a calf newly dropped from its mother. So here is a piece of criticism about Stephen, because they say that he's an embryo philosopher. He will be referred to as a philosopher all over this chapter, with different adjectives. Here he's called an embryo philosopher. And it says, obviously, this is criticizing Stephen, saying that he cannot distinguish an acid from an alkali.
Yes.
Yes, so so a staggering bob, in the case of people of lower class, signifies the cookable and eatable flesh of a calf newly dropped from its mother. So the animal recently born, yes? In a recent public controversy with Mr. L. Bloom, so the controversy here is with Leopold Bloom, no? Which took place in the Commons Hall of the National Maternity Hospital, 29, 30, and 31 Hall Street. So remember that this section is a parody of a description of a parliament session. That's why they use all these, let's say, titles between brackets and the place where they are, etc. So for Mr. Bloom, is the able and popular master. He is reported by eyewitnesses as having stated that once a woman has let the cat into the bag. So you see, this expression is completely out of place here, because the expression is a very popular expression that
Yes, in the middle of an academic.
Claro, completely ridiculous. And it has many connotations, very funny connotations. When once a woman has let the cat into the bag, and it says an aesthete solution, presumable to one of the most complicated and marvelous of all nature's processes, the act of sexual congress. So the metaphor for the sexual act is that the woman has let the cat into the bag. She must let it out again.
Sorry, but let the cat into the bag is to be pregnant.
No, well, in this case is to have sex, but to let the cat, sex. Claro. Por eso
yes.
Está como tomado en broma, ¿no? Como an expression that doesn't.
Yes.
And so let's go back to the phrase. Once a woman has let the cat into the bag, she must let it out again, or give it life, as he phrased it, to save her own. So this is apparently Bloom's theory. Once the woman has let the cat into the bag, she has to let it out or give it life or have a baby. Yes, to save her own life. Of course, what Bloom is trying to say is that when the woman is pregnant, she has to give birth. She cannot keep the baby inside. At the risk of her own was the telling rejoinder of his interlocutor, nonetheless effective for the moderate and measured tone in which it was delivered. So what Bloom said is really stupid, obviously, but it says it is the rejoinder of his interlocutor, no, the others are laughing. It is nonetheless effective. So what he said is true, although it is obvious, stupid, no?
Very silly.
Claro. Meanwhile, the skill and patience of the physician had brought about a happy accouchement. Accouchement, this word in French, I sent you the meaning, is bearing...
Dar a luz.
Dar a luz. Alumbramiento. In the meantime, we have the doctor who is taking care of Mrs. Purefoy, no? Remember. It had been a weary while both for patient and doctor. So imagine the hours, no? The poor woman has been trying to give birth, and it has been weary for both patient and doctor. All that surgical skill could do was done, and the brave woman had manfully helped. So this is also funny, no? She had helped like a man, manfully. She had fought the good fight, and now she was very, very happy. So we have the repetition of the word weary and the word very, very, yes? Those who have passed on, who have gone before, are, wait a second because I lost the line. Those who have passed on, who have gone before, are happy too, as they gaze down and smile upon the touching scene. Reverently look at her as she reclines there with the motherlight in her eyes, that longing hunger for baby fingers, a pretty sight it is to see in the first bloom of her new motherhood, breathing a silent prayer of thanksgiving to one above, the universal husband. So this is, of course, a parody again, yes, of a kind of a very sweet image of the mother, yes, having the baby and touching the baby's fingers and thanking God. And as her loving eyes behold her babe, she wishes only one blessing more, to have her dear Dodie there with her to share her joy. Dodie, I don't know if you remember David Copperfield, the novel. No.
Yes, but I didn't read it.
Okay. You should, Malena. It's a wonderful novel.
I didn't read it.
No, it's really, well, David, the character, marries twice, but the first wife is a baby wife, because she's like she's a girl, she's very innocent, very, and she calls David, her husband, Dodie. So that's why here the word Dodie makes us think of this baby wife in David Copperfield, because that is the name she uses for her husband. So what does Mrs. Purefoy want? To have her husband there with her to share her joy, to lay in his arms that mite of God's clay, no? To give him the baby, the fruit of their lawful embraces. You see how all the adjectives here show a very Puritan idea, no? Their embraces, their acts of sex were lawful, yes, within the law. Yeah. He's older now, you and I may whisper it. You remember Mr. Purefoy? He's not only old, but he's, you remember, rather mad, no? The man, the madman. So he's older now, you and I may whisper it, and a trifle stooped in the shoulders, yet in the work gig of years, a great dignity has come to the conscientious second accountant of the Ulster Bank, College Green branch. This is what he was. You remember he was a second accountant of the Ulster Bank. And so although he's older, he has a great dignity, no? But again, this is a mock to the poor Mr. Purefoy, no? Because everybody laughs at him. So to have this dignity is, of course, a joke.
All the paragraph is very ironic.
Completely. Yes, completely. Oh, Dodie, loved one of old, faithful life mate now. It may never be again, that far off time of the roses. So she remembers when they were young, and the far off time of the roses. With the old shake of her pretty head, she recalls those days. God, how beautiful now across the mist of years. But their children are grouped in her imagination about the bedside, hers and his. So now she thinks of all, remember that Mrs. Purefoy has a lot of children, no? This is the last one. Charlie, Mary Alice, Frederick Albert, if he had lived, one who died, Mammy, Budgie, Victoria Francis, Tom, Violet, Constance, Louisa, Dolly, Little Bobsy, called after our famous hero of the South African War, Lord Bobs of Waterford and Kandahar. And now this last pledge of their union, a Purefoy if ever there was one, with the true Purefoy nose. So, young hopeful will be christened Mortimer Edward. No, the names are very funny too. I mean, two big names, no? Mortimer Edward, after the influential third cousin of Mr. Purefoy in the Treasury Remembrances Office, Dublin Castle. So they are going to give him the name of an uncle who works in the government. Remember that the Dublin Castle is the government. And so time wags on, but Father Cronion has dealt lightly here. No, let no sigh break from that bosom, dear gentle miner. And Dodie, knock the ashes from your pipe, the season briar you still fancy when the curfew rings for you, may it be the distant day, no? So the season briar is mentioning of death, no? When he becomes old and die, but may it be the distant day, no? Que falte mucho. And thou the light whereby you read, in the sacred book of For the oil too has run low. And so with a tranquil heart to bed to rest. So that moment when the light goes back, it goes down because there is no oil in the lamp. You remember this idea of life like a lamp with oil, no? And it gets consumed. So with a tranquil heart to bed to rest. He knows and will call in his own good time. You too have fought the good fight and played loyally your man's part. Sir, to you my hand. Well done, thou good and faithful servant. So they imagine, no, their life together till the end of their lives, and a kind of romantic end too, no? There are sins, or let us call them as the world calls them, evil memories. And now, while the woman is in bed with the baby, etc., all this romantic description we've read, at the same time, Mr. Bloom is thinking and remembering things. But what he remembers is not good things, but sins or evil memories, which are hidden away by man in the darkest places of the heart. But they abide there and wait. He may suffer their memory to grow dim. Let them be as though they had not been, and all but persuade himself that they were not, or at least were otherwise. So these bad memories are there waiting, waiting to jump. But he may try to say that they didn't exist. Yet a chance word will call them forth suddenly. No, and this is, of course, what happens. A word or a noise or a piece of music, something makes us remember something, calls something to our memory. Yes. And they will rise up to confront him in the most various circumstances, a vision or a dream, or while timbrel and harp soothe his senses, or amid the cool silver tranquility of the evening, or at the feast at midnight when he is now filled with wine. Not to insult over him will the vision come as over one that lies under her wrath. Not for vengeance to cut him off from the living, but shrouded in the piteous vesture of the past, silent, remote, reproachful. So these bad memories will come to you all the same, yes? Because a noise, something will make them appear. Yes, and they will be there silent, remote, and reproachful. The stranger, remember who is the stranger? Mr. Bloom, always, no?
Yes.
The stranger still regarded on the face before him a slow recession of that false calm there, imposed, as it seemed, by habit or some studied trick, upon words so embittered as to accuse in their speaker as an unhealthiness, a flair for the cruder things of life. So we have less than a minute. We meet again at 4:45, no? So this is the stranger, Mr. Bloom, having all these memories, but his face looks calm, no, because he studied this. He knows how to show a blank face, not to show his real feelings. A scene disengages itself in the observer's memory, evoked, it would seem, by a word of so natural a homeliness as if those days were really present there, as some thought with their immediate pleasure. A shaven space of lawn one soft May evening. And this is what Mr. Bloom is